Hello there, I'm Scotty, and you're not. And I'm here to review the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Look, I am sick and tired of having sequels to the original film having the same fucking name as the film, alright? We had Halloween twice now. Well, that was a remake, but we had Halloween, which is a sequel to the 1978 Halloween. We have Scream, which is the sequel, the fifth film in the franchise that has a 2, 3, and a 4 in it already. You know, there's Texas Chainsaw 3D that was just Texas Chainsaw if it wasn't 3D. So you could say it's kind of coming full circle, but I'm sick of it, man. Give it something. Give it Revenge of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which would work in this case, and or Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Revenge, or something like that. Just, I don't know. So, you know, this was being said to be coming out on Netflix and all that stuff, and it was like, okay. Fede Alvarez was handling this. Oh, he was good with the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe 2 was a bit of a drop, as they decided to humanize a known rapist in that movie. Someone we knew, well, rape in a sense that he was still, you know, technically, because he was invading her space without her permission. So technically, if you want to get technical, yes, it was. But he tried to humanize him. And unfortunately, they make that mistake here. But I think it works better here. And let me tell you why. What do we know about Leatherface? Leatherface and his family in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre were just minding their own business when Sally and her friends showed up. Leatherface killed Sally's friends. He was defending his house. They invaded their home. And so this film continues that. There's this group of influencers. Can't we just say young adults? Why they gotta be influencers? There's this group of young adults, I'll call them that are renovating this town called Harlow in Texas. And when they get there, there's this old woman played by Alice Krige from the Sleepwalkers movie. And she has this guy living with her that's one of her old orphans, I guess. And so she is forced out of her home, and then along with this guy who ends up being Leatherface, of course, but she dies and he goes on a revenge. Goes on a revenge tour, I guess. Meanwhile, the only survivor of the massacre from the 1973, Sally Hardesty, is out looking for revenge. She gets wind of it, and it comes to looking for Leatherface. So let's go ahead and call out the elephant in the room right now. Sally Hardesty. Obviously, she's supposed to be like Laurie Strode from Halloween 2018. It's so fucking obvious that's what they're doing. But here's the problem. Laurie Strode is the final girl. By definition. She's had other chances. Even when they retconned everything back to the original, there was a meaning to her being there. If you want to go by that, he was stalking Laurie and her friends for the entire movie. Sally is just someone who happened to be the last person left and happened to escape of a group of people who invaded Leatherface's personal space. He wasn't stalking them, he was defending his home. And yet, they decide they're gonna do the Laurie Strode thing with her, even though it makes no sense, and she has way less impact than Laurie Strode, and she ain't do jack shit in this movie, other than provide a weapon for one of the final girls, and even that doesn't work out right. So yeah, these group influencers, if you want to call them that, these 4 friends. There's Melanie, her sister, her friend Dante, and Dante's fiance. Dante's fiance. They're going to this town in Harlow, Texas, and they stop at this gas station and meet this guy who's later named Richter. And I was like, is he a Sawyer? Is he going to be a Sawyer? Because I thought they were going to do the whole, you know, Sawyer family camping out there. But, no, he just turns out to be a mechanic guy who lives in Harlow. There was a point, though, that I really thought I was going to hate this. It's just this one little part, and I feel like you didn't need to put it in there. Because it's Texas. Obviously, they're going to have this there. It's a southern state. What do you fucking expect? But they walk in, and did I mention Dante is African American? So they walk into the town, and he goes, "What the fuck?" And the camera pans to a southern flag, the Union Jack, or not Union Jack, but the southern flag, you know, like that's on the General Lee, which is now canceled, I guess. That flag of the South. And he makes a big deal about it. Oh no, that's racist. You can't have that. And so he goes into this house without checking if someone there first. I guess there's supposed to be no one there. But he goes in and he goes to take the flag, but he can't get to it, even though he's got a hold of it. Just pull on it. And they make a big deal about taking it down. And then they have her make it, oh, you know, it was my daddy's flag and it reminds me of him or something. And yeah, it's a flag. I know what it means, but you're in the fucking South. You gotta expect it. I don't understand. They didn't have to put that in there. This is what I mean about movies nowadays. You have to have a message in there somewhere, right? So let's put that in there. Oh, the African American guy is gonna get mad at a Southern flag. Just why? It wasn't necessary to have in your movie, right? It's almost racist to make the black guy go off at it. Like, oh, you know, whoever wrote this is like, oh, we'll have the black guy get mad and say it's racist. But isn't that racist putting that in your movie? Isn't it? Like, to have that kind of scene, isn't that racism? I'm just saying, you're making it worse than it should by putting that scene in there. But I meet this woman, Ginny, I think her name is. And she's living in this house. And they basically, the cops force her out of there. She's like, oh no, I cleared it up with the bank. Everything's fine. I got the, you know, the deed or whatever to the house, whatever. And they kick her out because everyone, you know. And another thing that I didn't like. Because they do this thing where, oh, they kick her out. And then the girlfriend, the fiance, goes with them. For some fucking reason. I'm like, well, she's dead. Because Leatherface, or this guy that's living with this old lady, goes with them. I'm like, well, that's obviously Leatherface, and she's dead. What's her point in this movie? To be one of the first victims? Okay. Because that's what you get. Because she's fucking stupid, like most of these characters in this movie. I'm sorry, they are. There are several points I could have made a better judgment decision. I'll give it to her, though. When the stuff happens, she does try to pretend that she's dead or something. But it doesn't work because she decides to just, right after that, escape from the window. And, man, I called a lot of shots, and this was so predictable. So predictable. I called so many shots. I called some shots in this, man. This is so predictable. Okay, so, one, oh, she's dead. obviously. So the others are left behind, and then they do an investigation. They're like, "Are you sure that you have the title or deed for her house?" Yeah. So he goes to look for it. It's not there. And he's like, "Well, sometimes these things take longer." I'm like, "Okay, let's just say it's back in Austin, like they say." But no, they go through her house and they find it in one of her jewelry boxes. And I'm like, wait, that makes no fucking sense at all. Because the cops took her out. That means that what is going on must be legal. So she shouldn't have that. It doesn't make any sense. Unless she stole it. It just doesn't make any sense. But, and this is the most improbable thing. When I'm like, okay, so Leatherface, after what happens, Leatherface goes nuts, and you see, breaks the guy's arm and it stabs him with his own bone, and then kills the driver. They crash into something. What I don't like is they cut away from it, like they crash and it cuts back to them in Harlow, and then it goes back to them. She wakes up, she comes to, she's looking around. Driver's supposedly dead. Guy back there is dead, and then you see Leatherface in the back cutting off this woman's face and puts it on his own. And okay, so I didn't do it. I tried to do a trailer reaction, and it took too much time. But when I first watched the trailer, this was the thing that threw me. I didn't like the look of him. In watching this movie, Leatherface himself isn't a bad, like the performance, not bad, but they could have done something else. How is it staying on his face? He just puts it on and it stays on there. Is the blood acting like glue? What? Wow, how is it staying on his face? There's a point later in the film where he gets knocked into this pool of water, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna come back up. He's not gonna have the mask. It's still on his face. It makes no sense. How you seen before in the older ones? He has like a strap behind it. How is it staying on his face? It makes no sense. But we do the cat and mouse thing where she kind of wakes up and assesses the situation, which looks like she's gonna be smart. And she tries to make a call, to which the guy at the gas station hears, because they do a thing where they talk about, you know, oh, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and everything, and the Sally Hardstue was the only one left, because they got to call back to that. And props, they got John Larroquette to come back. I thought he was dead. And then I realized, oh no, it was the other guy from Night Court, and then the other guy. Those two. Charles Robinson and Harry Stone. Yeah, Anderson. Stone was his character's name. But yeah, it was those guys that died, not him. But anyway, so she comes to, she assesses the situation, and then Leatherface hears the sheriff coughing and goes back, so she pretends that she's dead. And then he kills the sheriff with like a twonk to the head. And then she tries to escape. And as she's escaping, they're covering up the other window as she's escaping. And I went, oh, they're going to do the thing where he's standing at the other window, he's going to pull her out. Sure enough, dun, pulls her back, stabs her, dead. I'm like, why was she necessary in this film? I don't know. But they got this bus coming, and these people. And then this is where it lost me here for a little bit, because Dante and Melanie, they go into the house to look for the deed, right? And all of a sudden, Leatherface is there, and I went, bullshit. That van crashed in the middle of fucking nowhere. There's no way he got back. An 80-something-year-old man was able to walk all the way back to that small-ass town in Texas. Bullshit. There is no fucking way he made it back there that fast. Bullshit. But he was there, and he kills Dante because he's black. Obviously. I'm surprised he didn't go in the van and was one of the first ones killed. I'm not saying that personally, but obviously that's why he's the next one to die. It's the writers of the movie. He made the thing about, he made the whole guff about the flag. So obviously he's the first one that Leatherface is going to kill once he gets back to town. I'm just saying. Because he made the Huff. Because he's African American. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say anything like, oh, he has to die because he's black. No, I actually like the character. Somewhat. But the moment he said, this is my future wife, I'm like, oh, you're both dead. But I like the character, But here's the problem I have. Like I said, they're trying to humanize Leatherface. It does work to an extent. I think I mentioned in the remake in the beginning, it doesn't work because it was the other way around. But here, it does sort of work because in both versions, it was like a home invasion. They were taken out of their home, forced out of their home. In the original, they just invaded someone's home, walked right in, right? But, yeah, so then we have this chase, and the sister is on the bus, and the sister, Melanie's able to get out and run onto the bus, but Leatherface is following him. By this time it's raining. You get the shot where he's standing there and it's raining, and he's holding the chainsaw, because he's got it by now. And we actually get a chainsaw massacre in Texas, believe it or not, because you get on the bus, and you get that line where it's like, do anything in your... Pretend I got this. It's just a case, but do anything and you're canceled, bro. And that fucker gets sliced in half, man. Fuck yeah. From the moment I heard that line in the trailer, I'm like, I want that fucker to die. And he does. He did. I hate the lingo there. Oh, you're gonna get canceled. Yeah, and he massacres almost, like, everyone on that bus is fucking dead. Like the lady that was talking to Dante earlier that helped organize it, she's dead. Almost everyone on the bus, dead. The other two, they're barely able to escape going through there. And by this point, Sally has heard everything and she's made it there. And she locks them in the back. She goes, this is my... He's after you, which means he won't stop till he gets you. But he's gone back into his house. She goes in there and she names off for all her friends. You don't remember me, do you? And here is my biggest thing. I don't think it's the same guy. They never outright say it. The way he looks at her, like he doesn't know who she is. One, also, who cares? Because it's Sally. If you had gotten Marilyn Burns, if she hadn't passed away in 2014, I think it would have been a bigger impact. But you got this woman who looks strangely like Jamie Lee Curtis, by the way. It doesn't mean anything anyway. And Sally Hardesty isn't top tier final girl like. I forgot her name. Laurie Strode. It just doesn't do anything. And furthermore, at this point, towards the end, they show differently. But, it doesn't seem like it would be the same person. Like, how do you know? Other than he wears someone's face, how did he go from... Like, because Drayton survived, right? At the end of that, they said they couldn't find a leather face. But Drayton survived, so why would he just be... And how would he be found at a point? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. There's not a lot of... For this being a continuation of the original, there's really not a lot of connection to that other than Sally. They don't explain what happened to Drayton or the cook. As they keep calling Dante, you're the cook. We get it. We get it. But... I don't know. There's no real connection to the original other than Sally. And at first, I actually thought maybe this was a different person. Because the guy looks only like 50s. And I get it. You couldn't have a real 80-year-old running around. Although the director, or Fede Alvarez, whatever, has said that if Gunnar Hansen was still alive, he would have loved to have him play the role. But unfortunately, no. But yeah, so she goes in there and have a confrontation. It doesn't work. They run out to the square. She got a shotgun and she gets killed. Well, she's still somewhat alive, but yeah. And the other two have a chase. They're in her car, they try to drive, and they crash, because of course. And this is the stupid decision number 2. First one is if she just stayed dead till he left, and not moved until he left, she would have been alive. 2. So, they crash into this thing, right? And then Melanie's got this metal pipe through her leg. And their sister's trying to go, no, you gotta go, you gotta leave. I'm like, put it in reverse, back up. It'll pop out. No, you have to leave, you have to go. He's gonna kill me now, you gotta go. Put the car in reverse, back up, the pipe will pop out of your leg. You have to go. Leave me here. Put it in reverse, back the fuck up, and the pipe will pop out of your leg. Nope. She's just given up. But because we foreshadowed it earlier, something I haven't mentioned yet, the sister has had trauma, a school shooting, and there's a thing earlier where she was with Richter, which he's already dead by now anyway, I don't care. And she was looking at his gun. So of course we foreshadowed that, we gotta come back to that. So she has his gun and, she didn't load the fucking thing. Really? But Sally gives her gun. Couldn't she have just done that instead of her going to get the gun? I don't know. But she has it. They have this fight where she's pulled into the pool of water because it was raining earlier. So now there's a pool of water in a movie theater. And hold on, I'm trying to figure out, there was another one. Oh, on the bus. The bus driver runs out to check on what's going on, why the bus stopped, and I'm like, oh, they're going to do the thing where his head gets thrown back in. Sure enough, head gets thrown back in. That's 2. And this one, she goes to crawl out, she's crawling out, and she made it out. I'm like, she's going to get pulled back in. Sure enough. But sister is there to save the day. Somehow, maybe she finally realized she could go in reverse and back out of the fucking thing. But she's there to save the day. And the sister fires 2 shots. I forget her name. She fires 2 shots on her, but she's out of ammo because there was only 2 bullets that Sally put in there, or 2, shells that she put in there. And then Melanie takes the chainsaw, nicks him in the face, he falls in the puddle, and they go to drive away. They put the car in autopilot, which, what fucking car has autopilot? Are they living in 2045? Do cars have autopilot now? Since when? But they put it on autopilot and they start to drive away. Leatherface shows up, fucking saws Melanie's head off. He pulls her out and just, I've heard people bitching and complaining about the ending to this movie. Is this what you're bitching about? Because that's awesome. What's the problem here? What's the problem? Do you think they should survive? In what fucking world should these people survive? People, I was rooting for Leatherface this entire movie. I'm serious. I wanted all these fuckers to die. They intruded much like the original, but in a far, far worse scenario, because they actually forced an old lady out of her house unfairly. They planted the seeds in this for you to root for Leatherface. You're supposed to root for Leatherface in this movie. For you people bitching and moaning and complaining about this ending, maybe you didn't realize you're supposed to root for Leatherface. If not, then they did a very poor job at making you root for them. They're a bunch of influencers. Right away, that one throws me out the window. They're acting like assholes. Yes, they have some remorse for what they've done. She even apologizes. Sure. But apologies aren't always enough. And most importantly, the house was what was Ginny's. proven. And they forced her out of her house illegally. They got what they deserved. I don't understand the hate. If you hate the ending, you didn't get what this was supposed to be. This was a revenge for Leatherface. Pure and simple. Pure and simple. And that's how it ends. Slice the head off, and he goes like this. Are we supposed to think that he killed the sister or not? I don't know. And I hear everybody keep saying there's a post-credit scene. There's a post-credit scene. Yes, there's a post-credit scene. It's not really that important, though. It just sees him going back home. Is that still his home, though? Is that the right farm? But that's where it sees him walking back to the farmhouse. So, I don't know. And at first, I thought people were mad because they killed him off. I'm like, okay, he's dead. Is that why they're pissed? I'm like, I didn't really think there was going to be a continuation to this because he's 80 fucking years old. I figured one and done was the thing, but then he shows up again and does that, and I'm just like, is this what they hated? Because that's awesome. You just cut your fucking head off, man. I enjoyed this. I like this movie. I'm going to say, I can't give it a pretty good, though. I'm going to give it middle of the road because there were some things with the characters. But I thought Leatherface was really cool in this. Not the look of him, but like just I thought the actor did a good job just performing the kills. The kills in this were some of the bloody. I like people were saying, "Oh, it's the bloodiest." I don't know. It's between this and the beginning, but it's pretty bloody. And I love me some Carnage candy. So yeah, I enjoyed this. I gotta give it the middle of the road. There's some things that conflict with me, but overall, not bad. One of the better ones, that's for sure. So what are your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022? Leave me a comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.